Hello, and welcome to Liminal Space. This is Weston Mossman, and I am on the Vibes Podcast.
That's right, or your podcast.
Our podcast.
The Vibes Podcast, as it travels through this cord, through the table, to that wire.
Through the liminal space.
Into liminal space. What are we listening to, first of all?
So, this is a song that I made. I go by Swayor, Swayor. I'm on Spotify. I'm on whatever, all the platforms. And I made this over the course of like 2 years with Liminal Space, doing the events that I was doing, making ambient spaces.
Yeah.
And then culminating with a big project that we did at the Museum of Art and History at the Frequency Festival that we called Crystal Note Grove with another artist named Wendy Francis. And
Nexty winner of the year for Influencer of the Year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Incredible artist.
Yep.
We were co-directing Liminal Space at the time with another artist, Taylor Royan. And it was this crazy project that had like spatialized sound. And you would go to these installations and they would have their own little world. And this was the combination of all the music that I had kind of done at Liminal Space and that experience together.
I was sitting in St. Petersburg, Florida on a grassy hill, and there was an art installation. It was fishnets, but they had lit them up. In the middle of it was open. And the interpretation was you're supposed to lay on that grassy knoll and look through the changing colors of the fishnet through that black space into open space. And there was a couple sitting next to us when we were laying on the grass there, and they were playing some, music, and I think a lot of it was Rufus Du Sol, things like that. But this is one I'm listening right now. I would have needed this song that night.
Yeah.
Because what you can do is eventually, if you let yourself go there, you sort of go through that little hole. If you really kind of let yourself, a little bit of that sensory deprivation that we can all get to, whether we get enhanced or if you can get there yourself, you can travel through that.
Exactly.
But this would be the soundtrack. Hold on. How does it make you feel when you listen back to your art?
It is memories. It brings back all the relationships that I've had with all the people that I've touched throughout this entire process, the people who have been a fundamental part of all of it.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, it's my music. Yeah, it's fun. And on the other hand, it's a story that I'm being still a part of and still being told.
Yeah, an expression of you. And that's the thing about it a lot of times is we have coffee conversations, you and I have had it, and it just drifts away a lot of times from that table. The permanence sometimes of art, the permanence of, a track like this on Spotify. I don't know, I guess there's a sense of hard to get away from a small sense of accomplishment, but also a sense of if we're here for a very short period of time, as in this existence, and we're here to express ourselves. It's nice sometimes when it's recorded or written.
Totally.
Or art.
Yeah, and you're hitting it on the head here because this whole song, like, what I'm feeling in it is impermanence, is the purposefulness that comes with impermanence. When there's only the time that we have on this planet right now, and no matter what we do, what we build, it's all going to turn to rubble eventually. It's all going to turn back into the earth. That is the reason that we should continue doing this.
That's exactly right.
That's the reason why we should make art, why we should care for each other, why we should build better systems and create better relationships with people.
Yeah. Can you think of a better segue on the history of the planet for me to ask you a question? Tell me about liminal space. Tell me, take your time right now because this is your podcast that we're handing off. But I think you won't have a lot of time because you'll be on the other side of the mic most of the time, kind of like bringing your artists in and collaborating with them. But this is sort of your moment to kind of, tell me about Weston, tell me about liminal space, and take your time, like how you got there so you don't rush right to it like it's a Chamber of Commerce meeting.
Yeah. Yeah. This is not the elevator pitch.
No.
Cool.
We're just hanging out.
Sweet. Stoked. Cool. So I originally grew up in the Bay Area in Cupertino, and it was an okay place to be. I didn't feel like I really connected with a lot of what Cupertino had to offer. And fortunately, my best friend in like 3rd or 4th grade, his dad had a guitar CD in the back of his car, and we were going to Safeway or something. And I was like, oh, my mom has this CD. She didn't. She didn't have that CD. I was just like trying to start conversation because I didn't know them very well. And he's like, oh, do you like guitar? And I'm like, yes.
I like guitar.
Yeah, I like guitar. He's like, well, you do want to learn it? I'm like, yes.
Well, one lie, one maybe half truth.
Totally. Yeah.
Right?
And
one
also,
lie, I don't have the CD, but now we're talking about a half truth.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so I went home and I asked my mom, I was like, hey, so Chris's dad, Michael, is a guitar teacher. Could I learn how to play guitar? She's like, yeah. Heck yeah, go do that.
That's the greatest thing you've ever said to me, Weston.
Yeah, right. And my parents were super supportive of me in music and art and just in general. I actually just met with my dad just now to help out with Convergence next week.
That's amazing.
Talk about it later.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's on my list.
Totally. So I started doing guitar lessons every week. It was also amazing that it was my best friend, so I could just be there all the time. So I went to that house constantly.
Yeah.
Slept over like 3 times a week. And Michael, that teacher, became kind of my mentor, like with art and with a lot of life, and taught me how to use torrents, how to like torrent software on the internet.
Yeah.
How to get Photoshop for free. And like I'm like tight with the like Photoshop and like Adobe people. It's like, you know, the only way that I'm going to be able to buy Creative Suite is by torrenting it as a child when I have $0.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. And they're like, okay, whatever. So through that, I was able to start doing design, like making flyers, posters, weird images of my friends, turn them into ninjas because it was like 2004 or whatever. It was like,
which was magic at that point.
Exactly.
That was magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also it was like a thing that everyone was doing. Suddenly, like everyone wanted to be a ninja in 2004. And that became like my whole life, was like just the creative and like thinking about like deep concepts and telling stories. Yeah. And I got into UCSC, fortunately, through music. I went in and talked to Mazet Ozgen, who ran the guitar orchestra at UCSC. And I have a feeling he like helped. I don't know if he like wrote me a letter or something, because like I didn't have a good GPA in high school.
And UCSC doesn't play that.
Yeah. And I got in. So I was like, nice. So then I got in. I'm like, okay, cool. So I did computer science, game design, sustainability studies, art, electronic music, also the music major. I ended up dropping the music major because it's like too much stuff to study in school. Right. And I was doing stuff with the digital arts and new media. There was all these really cool, like heady researchers, communities.
Yeah.
Just up on the hill. And that was 2011 to 2015. The route out of that was software. Like I did computer science, game design, so I had all this experience with programming languages.
Yeah.
And I had a really good experience of having a huge impact at companies, especially like small startups, and bringing them to like the scale stage, growing my career and doing all of this for something that was not my dream. That was not my vision. That was not my life.
Executing somebody else's vision.
Executing somebody else's vision for a whole industry, a world that, you know, it's all valuable, but that's not my world.
No.
So I had friends that I would do art and experiences and events with, did a lot of event coordination in Palo Alto, in the city, in the Bay, and in Santa Cruz. This is when I was living in like Palo Alto up there. And I was working at a startup, and then COVID hit. And I was like, what am I? Like, who am I? What am I? And I'm just like growing rapidly in this career and like making a lot of money and thinking, wow, I'm so like fortunate and privileged to be able to do this and also, what am I?
Yeah.
What is it all for?
Yeah.
I was like the most depressed I've ever been. So I moved to Santa Cruz. My partner Tiffany was living here at the time. And just completely changed what was central to me. Just every day was like, what does it all mean to me?
Yeah.
What does it all, what matters? Around that time, this is really early 2021, Danny Fernandez, he's a local artist and he's at Triton Tattoos.
Okay.
Started a meetup called Art Meetup Santa Cruz. Met every Monday on Sunny Cove Beach. At the time, I did not call myself an artist. If you asked me what I was, I would say I was an engineer.
Interesting.
I would say I'm a Wikipedia researcher or whatever. You know, I would not say that
Artist.
that I'm an artist.
Yeah.
That I'm a creator. I wouldn't even necessarily say that I'm a musician. I'd be like, well, I dabble. I can't go a week without making a song, but I'm not a musician. What I am is an engineer. So that felt very wrong to me for so long. And I started going to these meetups right on the beach, you know, doing cold plunges and whatever, trying to live my Santa Cruz life.
Yeah.
And then slowly but surely built a little community that was facilitated by this meetup. And I started to give myself the permission to just be creative, not try to make the masterpiece. A lot of the music that I had made before this time was so hyper detailed and every little thing had to be perfect. They're insane. They're like crazy songs, but they're like, they took 3 straight days and I wouldn't sleep. So, you know, I have a job. I can't do that. So I ended up just like having this chicken or the egg kind of situation with my creativity. Going to that, I realized I can just like jam with people. I can just like paint with people. It doesn't matter the skill that I have. It doesn't matter even what the output is.
Right.
It's about the process. It's about the people. It's about what I'm saying with what I'm doing.
Right.
And I slowly but surely started referring to myself as an artist.
That's an amazing story. It really is. I think what it is I think we always kind of talk about it, like how do you develop intimate relationships and connections with people. And I think we sometimes go right past the first most important part, which is giving yourself that space, creating that intimacy and that agency with yourself. Find yourself. It's much easier to find a community as you've kind of, you know, we'll never be completely whole. I think we're always on that journey. You and I have talked about that before when we drift off a little bit but I think the first part of that story you just told is there's a large part of that process to be available and to be connected to other people. You kind of have to kind of come to your own self first.
Totally. Yeah. And also give yourself like the space and forgiveness that our potential is so great. And we're also constantly flowing from one state to the next. We don't, you know, overnight binary switch from here to way over there. It's a continuous flowing thing. And that's frustrating sometimes. You're like, I know that my potential is that.
Right.
And like that over there feels right to me. And where I am now is completely misaligned. Yet it's the thing that is most sure and most comfortable and most safe. So give yourself forgiveness for feeling that and allow there to be time and allow there to just be something that's an intention, that you're setting an intention, you're reminding yourself every day. So I set that intention and I started talking to people about it. You know, like my landlord's son was just talking about guitar or something. I was playing guitar outside and he asked me for advice. And I said, you know, I could say thousands of things right now, but the one thing that I will say, because it's been the most important thing for me in the last month, is just start calling yourself a guitarist. The moment that the day that you pick up your first guitar, haven't even taken your first lesson, say, I'm a guitarist.
Yeah.
You're giving yourself the permission to do that thing. You're making it easy for you to sit down and play guitar, because it's not about, at some point you'll be a guitarist when you're good enough, and now you're not, and that's frustrating. You're a guitarist and you're just constantly learning. And
it's the beginning of manifestation.
Totally, exactly.
It's like that step what you just said. There's 2 different things I think about is, you know, later in my career, in my life, you know, I guess in a lot of ways, I began to try to reverse engineer things. And so instead of like wondering what the path was going to be like, I sort of just would go to a quiet space. Even 2.5 years ago, I'm like, all right, so if I'm going to get in this industry that I've never been in before, we're going to create a magazine. And I live here and I've consumed these magazines. I was like, what would be the greatest free magazine in the history of the planet? What would it feel like? What would the pages feel like? What would the cover feel like? What would the community feel like if it was finished? And it's easier to start there. You know, and I don't think I ever called myself a publisher or an editor. I still don't think I have, to be honest. I think I don't even know what the word for it is. I do have that. I guess is it officially, you might even be able to help me on this. I don't know if it's imposter syndrome.
Yep.
I think I'm deep in it with this because I had zero experience 26 months ago in any of this. Podcast management, publishing, editing, printing, running a TV network.
But you envisioned it.
That's exactly right. Now I'm good at that. And I think I'm just kind of finding the words for it. So I think, you know, for me, it even goes back to my days coaching sports in football, where I did a lot of like visualization. Like I was a different kind of coach with the football players, where the X's and O's and the execution of it and the training and all that stuff was sort of the low hanging fruit. I was the one that would like to turn the lights out in darkness and talk through and visualize what a perfect series of plays would look like. Visualize all 40 plays of a game.
Yep.
And I'd speak it out to them. I would tell them in the vision, we're doing it perfectly. But I do like that from, you know, even in novels and things, I dabble and I've written a few. And I always like to kind of, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll sort of write the end of chapters first, or I'll write the end of the book first. And then sort of have this kind of like idea of like the magnitude and what do I need to do to get to that amazing finish. And I think you can do that in business. And maybe as I'm sitting here right now for the first time, I'm thinking about this. I should say it for the relationship podcast is maybe that's the best way to think about relationships too. It's like, what's the best result of this relationship? Totally. And then you reverse engineer, how would we ever get there?
Yep, exactly. Yeah. Touching on some hard, like heavy stuff.
We always do. You and I have a tendency to drift in this, but let me
talk about that really quick.
Okay.
That is bringing me to something that I think is really important. So there's the neuroscience of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
You know, that is a natural thing when we are ambitious, when we see something that is beyond. And so much of the world is that somebody else did it, you know, and you're looking up to them. And it's a natural thing to say, well, who am I to do this? Right. And it's natural to be fearful about the potential for loss, for ridicule, you know, that you're going to be seen as somebody, but you're not that real person, and everyone's going to find out. They're going to find out.
That's exactly.
And then you're going to be in trouble
and humiliated.
You're going to be humiliated. Everyone's going to be mad at you. And think about that relationship with yourself, with your future, the same way that you might think of a relationship with a partner.
Right.
So with my partner, Tiffany, the way that started, it was at the Catalyst like 11, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And I just saw somebody from across the room, like in the opposite corner. And it's just a very beautiful person who was clearly listening to the music in the same way that I was, you know, and that's very important to me. And she was just like kind of swaying.
Yep.
And then we like locked eyes a few times. And I was like, well, I'm instantly very nervous.
Right.
And like, I should just not move. And this is the most terrifying thing. And the thought that was going through my mind was, well, what if this person is your soulmate?
That's it.
What if this person is your best friend? What if this person is a collaborator? What if this person is just a great person to talk to at a show at the Catalyst on a Wednesday when you have homework due the next day? So that was the vision. And that was the thing that I gave permission to exist. I said, okay, that is real. I'm allowing that. So I walked over and I said, hi, do you want to dance? She said, no. I'm like, that's cool. She said, I love you though.
All right. I'm still in the game.
Yep, exactly.
I'm still in the game.
And then we were friends. We talked about music, and it's been that way ever since.
You want to know what there's right across from me is a great relationship. Over in San Jose, 35 years ago, I had the same experience with my current wife, Stacy. And I had the same kind of feeling, same sort of, but a magnetic feeling like this is different than normal. Walked over, asked her if she wanted to dance. No. And 34 years later, we're married, 3 kids. And so, but the connection was, it wasn't a time in my life when I was following those instincts all the time. So I was 21. And so naive, looking back and all those ones. But I think there was something different in it. And when, you know, for me, something compelled me to walk over, not take no, but definitely kind of approach again in a different way. Instead of dancing, can we just talk? And that's where it ended up on my 21st birthday. We talked out there. My friends went up, had my 21st birthday in San Francisco without me. But we connected. And I think, so I do believe that it's passing in front of us all the time, Weston. Lessons, potential, relationships, you know, ideas. And I think sometimes we are, you know, we're sort of on that hamster wheel of the day, of life, of things like that we're not open to it. But I do think these moments, these relationships, these opportunities, they're drifting around us all the time.
Yeah. You just got to be open to it. And you just got to keep going and say, I am the person to continue this. I am the person that is worthy of this interaction.
Totally.
You know, they might say, I don't want to ever talk to you. That's okay.
You shot your shot.
Yeah.
In a way, in a lot of ways. And you fulfilled, I think what you did is you sort of, you took an opportunity, you looked at it, and for what it was going to be, you kind of like, you know, you squeezed everything out of that one little moment. So that I'm not saying regret per se, but I think it's just good policy to make sure that you engage it. If you feel like there's something there, you may as well front face it, engage it. And this is really deep because we're talking about relationships right now, but that could be also like on any capacity. That can you can, as long as you kind of have, let's say you're laying in your room or your bed and you're kind of having an inkling of just even feeling sad. It's probably better to front face that, engage it in a lot of ways in the same fashion that you would somebody saying no.
Totally.
You know, that same thing. If your instincts are that even if it's your own self, you need to kind of make sure that you give yourself that same space and opportunity as a relationship. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good stuff. So we're deep plunging. We're meeting with some artists. We're getting an idea. We're calling ourselves an artist. Liminal Space.
So yeah, good transition because it's exactly what happened. So Art Meetup was this amazing thing. It kind of like transitioned in who was managing it, and it became mostly me, Andy Pancakes, who's a local musician.
Love him.
Yeah,
Love
great
him.
guy, and like
just more people. I'm glad you said his name. I went out of my way to tell him. I think at the next teacher, I bumped into him somewhere. I'm a huge weird fan of his, and he doesn't even know who I really am.
He probably doesn't know most of the people who are huge weird fans of his. Me and Tiffany are just like amazing, just like
I totally agree.
Yeah, and just like lip sync everything or sing it really loudly. So he is also somebody who like in many ways unlocked that ability in me to just jam with people, which has actually become like a fundamental part of like who I am. So I really appreciate him for that.
Yeah.
So it became cold, you know, we were like meeting outside, and it was a little bit random, you know, just like meeting outside, a very valuable thing. It's still happening. But then I started thinking, and there was a vision of, well, what if this had some structure and some ambition and some impact in mind that is a combination of the experiences that I've had here, that we've all had here at Art Meetup, where creation is a way of being. And also it's a space that's made for new people to come in, people who've never done art before, people who've done art their entire lives, to communicate through collaboration, through music, through art, or just through the fact that the space is really inspiring. And there's a lot of really cool people there.
Safe.
That it's safe. People are having really cool conversations. You're building a community of people who care, a community of practice. So I had that thought, and I'm like, I mean, I want to do this. I want to play music. I'm like into synthesizers and looping guitar, and I wanted to make this space. So I saw it. I imagined it. I was talking to people about it. People were pretty stoked on it. then I started having imposter syndrome. I'm like, I'm not the person to do this. I'm just copying Army of Santa Cruz. Who am I to do this? And I had to not fight that, but sit with it. You know, like you said, sit with it and interrogate what that means to me. And what it was saying was, this is important to you. And it's also huge. And remember, I was like grabbing all of my gear that I was sharing with my friend Ava. We had like huge subwoofers and speakers and all this stuff to do events that we had been doing for years.
Yeah.
And my dad called me asking me about something totally unrelated. And I was like, Dad, I need to focus because I'm about to do the most important thing of my entire life.
I love that.
Just like straight up. He's like, oh, all right. And then hyper focused, invited as many people as I could. I like didn't sleep for like 2 days. Made like 7 songs, practiced them, how I would live loop them. Made a flyer with Tiffany, my partner, and then we had the event. And
where was it, by the way?
It was at 11th Hour.
Our boys.
Yep.
Our boys.
11th Hour downtown. It was like January 7th, 2022. So I had been talking to Braden about this, Braden and Sierra at 11th Hour. And last minute, like everyone, like Braden got COVID, Sierra got COVID. So I was just like, all right, I'm just going to do it myself. Fortunately, they were very like trusting in me. So put on the event. Kids showed up. Kids and parents showed up, and they were like collaborating and doing art. We had like little materials out. And you know, more people arrived than I thought they would. It's mostly my friends, but it was working. People were there. People were collaborating on a collaborative canvas. People were working on their own like watercolor.
Yeah.
People were talking. They were eating food. This is before there was like active restaurants over there. And I remember the end of the night after doing my set, my friend Jetty did an ambient set, thinking, oh, this is what I want my life to be.
This is it.
Yeah. Not necessarily this exact event, but this feeling, this community, this expression, this space that we're making, this liminal space.
This liminal space.
Yeah. So I made an Instagram. I had been off of all social media for like 5 years and made 2 Instagrams, one for Sway Your Music and one for Liminal Space Collective. And kind of 180 degrees to my life. You know, I was still working at a startup, but the focus became liminal space.
Yeah. It's so funny. Maybe that's why I don't think we've really connected the dots, why we connected the way we do. But I think our 2 businesses right now, we're in the same kind of spot as far as, you know, this ideation, this feeling, but both of our reaffirmations for why we keep doing it are those seminal moments where, you know, for me, I think it was at a pickup party with co-hosted with a couple of our nonprofits, 2 or 3 issues in, where, you know, we're just kind of, you were just running, you were doing this thing, you were publishing, you were learning it. Everybody kind of was digging it, but it wasn't until we were there with the nonprofits and it was sort of just a hangout period. I'm like, yo, it just felt like, for me, for the first time in my life, it felt like I was accomplishing what would be qualified as work by definition, but none of it felt like work when I was with those people in that moment, knowing, and I kind of did that same thing. It's like I was still hanging on to that other career. But I think there was a moment very similar to that where I'm like, you know, I've got to kind of Shark Tank myself here a little bit. And, you know, instead of half in, I think I got to go all the way in with vibes and kind of see if we can build a community. But it wasn't the print. It wasn't the, you know, the distribution or the copies or the advertising revenue. It was the people. It was the people that brought me into this business, which isn't necessarily the greatest financial decision of all time. But I do think over a period of time that the heart of that in both of these companies, you know, and what we're doing, I think we were drawn into it from, you know, community standpoint. So we feel, you know, I think that's there's a similarity there, and I you know, I can feel it when I hear you talk about it, that how liminal space came to be. It's like there's a purity to it. I dig it.
Yeah, and it's hard work, right? There's a metaphor that works. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's hard, and it's not only hard on your body and your brain, but it's hard on your soul. You know, like
Yep.
things don't always go well. You
Right.
know, it's a lot of work, a lot of like just time that you're spending, and a metaphor that comes to me a lot, especially when I'm like meditating. I joined this community called Breath Church. It's holotropic breath work, and through that you get this pretty interesting, like nearly psychedelic experience, but you don't like need to be on any kind of drug. It's just like a natural thing that humans have been doing forever. And it almost like clarifies your like spirit to your brain. So you start like envisioning these things that are really aligned with yourself. And something that I've kind of like had always in the back of my mind, but it's become really, really clear now. And it's helped me with a lot of decisions and also feeling just okay in my life, is the forest, the path, the mountain. Working on this, climbing up this mountain, it's hard. And, you know, you stub your toe, you can get scratched and fall and hurt yourself. And it's always going to be work. But when you are climbing your mountain, when that pathway ahead of you is clear, or clear enough that you see something beautiful beyond, it's all worth it.
Right.
So even though it is hard work, it doesn't feel like hard work.
No.
Especially when you're hiking with your homies.
Well, and I think that the next, before we get to convergence, the next one was going to be a little tiny bit. And again, another perfect, you know, kind of like segue to this Vibes Liminal Space partnership that we're creating, starting with, you know, these mics right now, just hitting it on all platforms, getting Liminal Space into the TV network, podcasting, so that we can kind of sparse that out and get it to different demographics so that people can see the space and kind of, and of course the print magazine, you having a permanent seat in the print magazine. But maybe that's without, I was going to ask you, like, what do you see coming from this partnership? Where are we going together? Maybe it is just a hike. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's not so much we're doing what we're doing, but maybe there's just sort of like courage and strength in aligning with partners like you that give us a little bit more of the kind of like the intestinal fortitude to keep going on this thing. What do you want out of this partnership?
Storytelling. I think there's a lot of stories. There's a lot of really beautiful. There's a lot of touching. There's a lot of painful stories.
Yeah.
All over the world and in each one of us, and especially in Santa Cruz. And that's uniquely us. That's uniquely this community. And I have the privilege to witness so many of these stories come about, right? Like at Liminal Space events, right? Like the reason that I kept going, even when it was like 80 hours a week and I'm like not getting paid and it's crazy. And like some guy lit a fire and like, anyways,
Some guy lit a fire.
all of it. Yeah. It's crazy. Was people that joined this space, engaged in this space so often, created new stories, like new versions of themselves. And Liminal Space is really special to me for that. People still come to me today like, oh, you're the Liminal Space guy? I went to this event and I met this person and now we're doing that in our lives. Like we totally have like changed the direction that we're going because of this. That happens a lot and it's super awesome. It's like very humbling. I try to be like, whoop, the ego, it's not just me. There's so many people involved in this.
Right.
It's a collective thing. And wow, that's a really interesting story. Somebody else should hear that.
Exactly.
And there's more than just, obviously, there's tons and tons of communities around here with stories to tell.
Yeah. And I think that's where we talked at coffee the last couple times is, you know, right now as I'm running, you know, love it or hate it, we are intimate with the narratives. We're intimate with our connections with our nonprofits and our business partners. But Vibes is in a unique position to accumulate the dreaded impressions. And they exist and we live in the world of them. But I think what we can do is maybe create opportunities for, you know, disparate voices the culture, the community in a way. You've been to enough of my talks. One of the missions is nonprofits in a for-profit space. And I think that's really what the obligation of Vibes is to create these, as we're kind of creating a business model and creating these monster impressions through the TV network, the podcast network, the print, by having so much of it available for these narratives that might not be told, Weston. They might not find their way into the kind of the mainstream. And I think that's what I'm excited about here is using, 7.5 second, 15-second reels in these coffee houses and in the malls. And once we get these 100 screens up, I think we can kind of continue to engage this community through those screens that are diabolical. I get it, but they're not going away. And we have to find some way to use those. I think we can use all of the resources that are coming our way, whether it be AI, these screens, these impressions. I kind of feel like we can use it as a small shortcut to get more time like this, more conversations like this, that we can, it doesn't all have to be, basically brain rot. It doesn't all have to be like, epic skate fails and, and all the things that kind of, I think we can recreate what does it mean to gather an impression and what is an engagement, and especially in our community. So that's where I see us going. I think for me, meeting you at a couple of the different business camps and around town at 11th hour, I think I use that word a lot where I'm very aware of my time and place. And I love abdicating large spaces of my life to people like you, so that we're still operating in taking the same hike. But I think, sometimes I can't have, I can't be you. I can't have the vision. I can't be in your community. It's, you just don't retread that or redo it again. But I think I can definitely abdicate resources, abdicate parts of our business that will, you and I both know it, for both of us, it will enhance our businesses. Getting eyes on Liminal Space, exposing the brand to different people across 3 counties, that's only a benefit. Me abdicating space to you in the magazine gives a unique and distinctly different perspective than anybody's seen before. So I'm excited for it.
Me too.
I'm excited. And I think we're just really, I think what I told you when we first, maybe the second time we met, we just need to get it and book it, because then we're in together. Then we can't escape each other. Because we would go like month and say, oh, let's do something. And then 2 months would go by. And I think finally it was just like the time. It's the time to put it on that calendar, do these recordings, do the magazine 4 times a year, open up the TV network. And then we'll see where it goes with it. I know it falls in that category. We're not selling, no shade to our partners, but we're not selling solar panels. We're not selling widgets. We're selling people, art, perspectives.
We're creating the forum, the stage, and the microphone. I think that's what's interesting about the different methodologies that we go about to do the same thing.
Right.
Create the forum, create the stage, and create the microphone. Like what you were saying earlier reminded me of a quote that I got down from Justin Cummings, the district supervisor.
Yeah.
And he said, this was at the Circle Church at our Impermanence event. And we're talking about the like community collective workshop kind of experience that was happening in our it was called the Art Sanctuary. And he said, this gives a stage to the future and a microphone to the unspoken. I was like, Justin, oh my God, that was a banger. And I sent him a message like a week ago, and I was like, hey, could I like put this on the website? He's like, yes, you may.
Yes, you may. You may use that. I like that you're very good at that. I think you're an active listener, and I'm always trying to become a better, podcasting helps you become an active listener. I think this format, again, we like to, there's certain levels of where we want to sort of like shit on all platforms that exist in the world. But I do think this, for me, over the last 2 years, it makes you more of a connected, active listener, because you want to kind of give deference to the guest. You want to make sure that you're elevating who's on. It's not about me right now. This is about Weston, but that's a good practice to take into the real world.
And it's about the conversation.
That's exactly
it. It's about the communication. It's about the questions that we're asking each other rather than the answers.
That's exactly it. And what we'll ask next time, we'll walk away from this and we'll, on what we just talked about, like we always do. So as we wind it down a little bit, I want to get into my mandatories. What is Convergence?
Cool. Yeah. Thank you. So
How was that?
great transition, Brian. Thank you. So yeah, Convergence is a course, summit, workshop business that Liminal Space is starting. That's kind of the culmination of all the experiences and the passions and the learnings and the research and the projects and the grants that we've gotten over the past, 3-4 years. And Convergence is where Santa Cruz creatives and mission-driven organizations and teams come to practice thriving. So what we do is we design and offer hands-on action labs that invert the traditional schooling method. We call it like unschooling.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's where we mix neuroscience of flourishing, design sprints, playful breakout games, so that you leave with new skills, new peers, and an action plan that you will actually do.
And this is a first of, right? Is this the first Convergence or no?
This is the first public Convergence.
So you've workshopped this a little bit on some levels.
Yeah. Since about last year, we got the fiscal sponsorship with the 418 Project, and we wrote a grant with the California Humanities, and it was with the thesis of people need a third place to practice these things, to communicate, to learn new skills, to think about the things that matter to them and how their engagement with the world can do those things, how their engagement in the world can create a business that successfully solves problems, that successfully enhances our community, that successfully heals the environment and heals ourselves in a viable way, that our career, our business, our special interest initiatives can build organically, naturally, and be facilitated, accelerated, incubated right here in town.
It's amazing. Age groups or breakout groups, or how's that handling? Is it open to all ages, or how's that working?
Yep. So it's open to all ages. Our primary target market is 25 to 45.
Yep.
Creative professionals, entrepreneurs, people who want to make a difference in their community, and also startups, small businesses, impact initiatives. We're working with the Monterey Bay Climate Adaptation Action Network. It's 60 organizations that are all coming together with this $71 million grant that they got from California.
Yeah.
Led by the Coastal Marine Sanctuary Foundation. So I'm working with Emily and Robert Mazurek over there to build this experiential kind of game to help them make decisions better. Not just that the decision itself is, more functionally better, but also that it was made by all of them, that it was made by all of these organizations, regardless of the experience that they have,
right,
with equity and also with joy, that they are having fun doing this.
Exactly
they're building relationships when they're doing this. So the creators of Santa Cruz, that's anybody, artists, people who want to make a difference with something that they're creating, with their own passion, with their own soul, and want to turn that into something that can stick around.
Mm-hmm. Single day, multiple day, what is it?
So the summit is going to be one day, 2 to 6 p.m. We're going to do this quarterly, and it's going to be on August 16th at 11th Hour Coffee.
Again, here we go. They're such, again, I know we've mentioned it once, but they're so acceptive and so helpful in things like this. It's incredible.
Yep.
The cultural hub down there.
Yeah, they're just so collaborative. I was just
totally
had a meeting right before this, where I just walked into the office and we're just all coming up with ideas. So we're gonna have some special drinks, these cool swirly blue, green, white matcha, the Convergence matcha and the Convergence latte. It's just so fun to think up that stuff with spirulina.
You know what we should do as far as we have the opportunity in that world. We can do a takeover of those TVs down there and have some some prompts or some words or some motivations or some single images that instead of it being distracting, that's the whole point of these TV network, is we can take over that and keep it limited to Convergence that day in the hours that you're doing it, so that the TVs adapt to your event. That's the whole point of the network.
Would be sick.
Well, yeah, so that they accentuate the network or accentuate events.
Yep.
And so let's talk about that. Easy to do. We can just get a few things up so that, that's the whole point of the network, is we don't want it to be in an environment. If somebody's having a particular birthday party, well, you can change it to that, or a business.
Totally.
So we can make that happen on that side of it. And so is there a second day? Or no, is it just one day?
So we're going to be offering multi-day kind of retreats.
Yeah.
We're going to be offering like week-long intensives for businesses, for teams. This summit is a launch for Convergence courses, which is the business. And the purpose of that is to build, communities of practice into our teams, our businesses here, our organizations, impact initiatives, but also create these teams from people in the community. So through these kind of like action lab cohorts, we build cohorts of people that are on a path together. They're trying to learn something. They're trying to build something based on that learning together. And it's led by a coach. And, sometimes it's a one-day workshop. Sometimes it's a month-long course. Sometimes it's a 3-month-long individuals intensive. And through that process, you get to experience these kind of neuroscience flourishing meditation grounding exercises and unleash your creativity, your innovation, build a really strong network of people who care about similar things that you do, and then experiment together. What do you want to do? What is this with this learning that you've had? What do you want to do with that? How are you going to? It doesn't need to be you're going to solve the world. It could be that you're going to learn how to play guitar, or you're going to change the way that you talk to your parents. Like whatever it is, whatever that thing that it is. And it could be that you want to start a business that like recycles plastic better or something.
Yeah.
Anything. It depends on what you want, and we're going to be there to support you, providing courses and facilitation that leads to the experiments, the projects, the prototypes. And then we integrate that. We say, okay, what are the teams? What are the teams that are going to take this to the next stage and set a timeline? It's called the project blueprint, and have a system of accountability. Because the community is there to check in regularly the entire time that the course is going. You're getting support. You're holding each other accountable. And then 30 days after, 90 days after, 120 days after, there's check-ins and support, helping you get to that level. And also social accountability. It's huge. Culture is very important.
There's no doubt.
I need people to be around me in order to get my things done.
Yeah.
I tell them like, hey, I'm working on this. And they're like, hey, how's that going? And I say, oh, I'll get back to it. You know what I mean? So in that way, we're building through these courses these communities of practice, people who are skilled, people who are learning together, people who are doing things together in this third place, in this regular capacity that massively impacts not only their lives, their confidence, their network, but also the community as a whole, the environment as a whole.
Incredible. I mean, and so as far as like the normal, as we wind this thing down, the normal sort of gig, where can they find more information? How can they get connected to the whole, to Convergence? Where's the easiest place to go get more information?
Totally. Yeah. So we have a website. If this sounds interesting to you, we got a whole bunch of information on convergence.courses. There's no .com. It's just convergence.courses.
It's amazing.
And right on there, right at the top of the landing page, there's the button for the Eventbrite. This week, next week, before the day of the event, we're doing a 2-for-1 deal. So for $15, you get 2 tickets. So you and a friend, you and your partner, you and your parent can come together.
Incredible. I'm into it. Count vibes in, whatever you need from us on that side, and I'll probably be a participant.
I would love if you could be one of the coaches to
whatever
help
you
facilitate.
Need. You know that. However, that I think it's in the game. I think it's a beautiful ending to this conversation, because I think in a way I'd have to go to Convergence to find it out, but it really feels like you had this seminal moment where you basically decided you're going to call yourself an artist, and things kind of fell into place. But I think what Convergence sounds like it might be is a very good spot where you can go and have an idea and call yourself something and get support in that something. Mm-hmm. And you could become that something, or that idea can become it. So knowing you, it's going to be a very welcoming environment. And I hope we'll do our part to get it well attended. 11th Hour will do their part, and we'll collab to get some people there. Anything else? I think I going to roll us out with some Andy pancakes.
Heck yeah, let's do it.
Some syrup.
Yep. Let's all hang out August 16th, Saturday, 2 to 6 p.m. at 11th hour. Let's have fun and bring your notebooks and pens because we're going to be keeping track of what's coming next.
Weston, you're the very best. Thanks, brother.
You're the best.